Good morning, everyone. Yesterday brought violent thunderstorms, followed by dangerous winds, with some flooding as well as several small tornadoes, confirmation of those in at least McCracken and Christian counties. Sadly, we lost at least 5 Kentuckians in the weather event yesterday. They included a 23-year-old man in Edmonson County, a 63-year-old man in Logan County, an 84-year-old man in Bath County, a 68-year-old man in Simpson County, and a 41-year-old woman in Fayette County. The thunderstorms themselves were followed by wind gusts that reached, in what we have recorded through Kentucky Mesonet, up to 75 miles an hour in Breckinridge County, 73 miles an hour in Mercer, 72.4 miles an hour in Fayette County, 72.3 miles per hour in Fulton County, 71.3 miles per hour in Taylor County, 71 miles an hour in Simpson County, 70.7 miles per hour in Shelby County, 70.7 miles an hour in Mason County, and a recorded 70-mile-an-hour gust here in Franklin County that caused some significant damage. Trees down actually on the Capitol grounds, and Emergency Operations Center lost their sign in the middle of it. So very destructive winds. I issued a state of emergency in anticipation of the storm, and since then, 37 counties and 11 cities have issued either a written or a verbal state of emergency. We have a number of homes that have been impacted, some significantly, but nothing like what we saw in the December 2021 storms. We have no one currently sheltering in any of our facilities that have been set up. The biggest damage appears to be trees and power lines, and the poles on the power lines, and what that means in terms of power and our roadways. When it comes to power, this is going to be a multi-day event. We now have, as of 11/11, 396,517 Kentucky customers that are without power. Utility partners are working quickly to restore services, but this may take some time. This is very significant, widespread damage throughout Kentucky. It is multiple utility providers that are working, and it's going to take at least days to get power up in some places. The Red Cross is doing a preliminary report to review shelter needs, but again, most people seem to be finding shelter with relatives or others that have power. We're not hearing of large numbers of displaced people, but there are some. We're working to help those folks as needed. We had no significant damage to any travel trailers or sites. Those are the people that had already been through severe weather events. So we are very grateful for that outcome. Our field teams have been to all those commercial sites. We have completed checks on the private sites. Now, Jenny Wiley is without power, the lodge, the cabins, and the travel trailers, so we're working to restore power. I will say, Jenny Wiley, even before it became an area where we were sheltering folks, and a travel trailer site has significant maintenance needs. We hope the General Assembly will come through with that funding, which is in front of them. The loss of power at Jenny Wiley does not impact water availability or the function of any travel trailer, but our teams are still doing door-to-door checks. Now, when power is off, it can have a significant impact on water and water systems. So right now, 1,874 Kentuckians are under a boil water advisory. 5 water districts are working under limited operations. They are Barkley Lake, Edmonson County, Scottsville, Campbellsville, and Greensburg. The Department of Water is doing visits right now. It's really in that in-between area where if we can get power up in the relatively near future, then we don't need to haul water to them, where they don't necessarily need generators. Some of the systems are so old, it takes an electrician doing significant work to connect the generators. So most of these systems, the impact isn't from wind damage to the water system itself. It is the lack of power to the water systems. We have provided 2 generators to Edmonson County right now and are looking at the other needs. We'd ask everybody, please do not wait until you are out of water. These are, if you are a water system, alert our Division of Water immediately so they can provide necessary resources to your communities. A couple other actions. Some of our emergency management communications are running on generators. We also have KSP on site offering radio operations as needed. So emergency operations in each of these impacted counties can be active. Our transportation team has been working around the clock to get roadways cleared of debris. We have transportation out. We have the Division of Forestry out. They do a really good job with their SAL teams. Did a whole lot after the flooding and after the tornadoes. And we have one National Guard team that was deployed with, I believe, a Division of Forestry team to help. We have responded to, we think, at least 6 semi-trucks that were blown off the roads or blown over in parking lots. We believe all of those are cleared up now. We think there were some small concerns about hazardous materials that may have been in some of those tractor trailers. Those are all cleaned and cleared. We provided 5 oxygen tanks to Woodford County through our public health team to homebound Kentuckians without power. So now I will pass it over to Director Slinker from Emergency Management to continue to remind people of tips. It is still dangerous if there's water out there and flooding. It's still dangerous if there are electric poles and lines that are down. Director Slinker.
Thank you, Governor, and good morning, everyone. Back here with you today is a follow-up from our yesterday's update. We had a very active and busy evening, early morning, and now starting this morning to get a good picture of all the damages and what we face. But what we do see is definitely those things that may be safety issues. So again, mentioning that power is one of our major issues, there may be some folks that are running off of generators. Always remember what we emphasize. Do not use a generator indoors. If you use a generator indoors, then that can cause illness or death. So please be safe if you're running off a generator power. Also, power lines. As mentioned, countless numbers of poles and lines are down, trees laying across them. Always assume they're hot. Never assume they're not. Always assume they're hot. Don't touch them. Don't cross them. Don't go around them. Call your power company and report it. If it has any significant concerns like fire or any sparks going with it, call 911 and notify local first responders to come out and help you. And we still have areas that are experiencing some high water. So we do have some water over the roadways. Turn around, don't drown. Just don't do it. Don't go through it. It's not worth the risk. We've got a few clear sky days. Things are going to get better. Power's going to come back on. The repairs are going to be made and the water will recede. So give it time and be safe. Thank you.
I want to emphasize the point on generators. Kentuckians have been very good, very smart at how they've used generators these last 2 major natural disasters. But if I remember back on the very significant ice storm, we lost more people, if I recall right, or significant number to the misuse of generators, bringing them in the house, having them too close to the house as compared to the overall weather event. So please, if you use a generator, it needs to be outside. It needs to be far enough away from the house. We've already lost 5 people. We don't want to lose any more. Also, remember that we may still lose some trees. The ground is very soggy, very wet. The wind has pushed a lot of them. So please be careful around ones that are leaning, especially where some of the root system has started to come up. And then here's a slide on water and power lines. So again, just treat every single one like it's live and like it's dangerous. All right, we'll open it up to a few questions. We've got Tom Latek in person.
All right, thank you, Governor, and good morning. In the interest of possible prevention for future events. If anything more under the circumstances of the deaths of the five people, other than the car, the tree fell on a car, any other circumstances there that's something that could be preventable? And also, I guess another word of wisdom is, or words, is to not go looking around at the damage so we don't have an incident like in Western Kentucky with the gentleman from California.
Um, Tom definitely added another piece that if try not to go to areas with significant damage just to see them. You can either get in a dangerous situation, or you can get in the way of those that are trying to clean it up and make it safe. We always want to let the professionals do their job and not impede them. And in this instance, that's going to be a whole lot of people that are trying to get power back up. So also make sure you slow down on the roads as you see power crews. Those ought to be our best friends at the moment. We want all of them healthy and safe and getting the job done. And remember, they want to get home to a family just like you do. We'll have a chance to review the event and the deaths as we proceed in the days and weeks, and hopefully there will be some additional lessons learned. But I am convinced when we saw this move through, what it could be. I mean, actually, I could feel the walls moving here in Franklin County when some of those wind gusts came through. This would have been a whole lot worse if everybody hadn't followed advice, which I think they did, got off the roads. We got people out of the Capitol and our government buildings early, and I know businesses did that too. In the end, the fewer people we have on the roads outside their home, outside of the safest place they can be, if we can minimize those that are out during these weather events, then that's the safest we can be.
Any damage to the dome?
I haven't had any reports of damage to the scaffolding. It took them a long time to get that up. It appears they put it on pretty well. We got Karen Czar on virtually.
Thank you, Governor. Are there any areas that you would advise against travel today if people do need to get out? And then you mentioned the one National Guard unit with transportation. Is that the only unit that needed to be deployed? Thank you.
Right now, my information is only one unit needed to be deployed. We still have 400 guardsmen that are in training that are actually ready with equipment. They're doing their training at the moment, but are on a status to where at a moment's notice, they could be hauling water or providing additional help. What was the first part of that question? Karen, could you repeat the first part of the question?
Are there any areas of where people live right now if they need to get out that you would advise against travel? Thank you.
Now, it's really widespread. So what I would make sure is before you travel, that you are checking the news in your area. You're checking with local emergency management. There may be a couple of roads that are challenging, but you really just want to be careful as you go. If you encounter localized flooding, if you encounter down power lines, turn around. Anything else, Director?
No.
Okay. So WLAX is now off? Okay, Bria Jones with our last question.
Are there parts of the state that experience like worse off? I know that it seems as the storm moved through the western part of the state was catching the brunt of it. So are we seeing more severe damage there? And are there any concerns about upcoming weather in like next week that could further exacerbate the issues we're seeing now?
So Western Kentucky did see significant damage. We expected that they would see a lot of rain and potential flooding, and that tornadoes would likely be more significant or more likely in the center of Kentucky. And then we thought the East would get hit harder than it did. The West got all of it, everything that you could think. They had some tornadoes. They had a significant wind. The thunderstorms were particularly violent there. And then certainly central Kentucky got hit, especially with the wind that came afterwards. The East fared a lot better than was expected in the original models, and the East has been through enough. So we're grateful that they were spared. What could have happened, given that many areas that flooded so badly and and the big July floods also flooded again a couple weeks ago. We know we've got a couple of good days in these next couple days. We hope that they will help us significantly dry out. We'll be watching the weather very carefully in the coming week and weeks. All right. Thank you all very much. We will likely provide more updates today on social media, potentially posting some videos. But again, as long as people are careful, right? As long as people are careful about flooded roadways and about down power lines, that this will become an event that's primarily moving forward based on restoring power, how quickly we can do it, and whether that will have an impact on water systems. So we'll be giving those updates as we go. Hopefully your local utilities are providing some timeline, but please be understanding with as widespread as this can be. It's not a science. A lot depends on how many people they can get from out of state to come in. But I've stood next to these folks in now so many different natural disasters. They are working as hard and as fast as they can. They know you want and you need power. All right. Thank you all very much.